You are listening to Rocket Shop on the Radiator at Big Heavy World. I'm your host, Abby BK. And with us in the studio today, we have Laci, Elle. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Welcome to the space. This isn't your first time in here because you've been here for numerous things on the Radiator, but your first time on Rocket Shop.
Yeah. Very, very exciting.
Yes.
A very beautiful space, too.
Oh, yes. Thank you. So what have you been up to musically recently?
That's a great question. I have started a design business, which is not music, so I have been a little bit out of the music game, and I'm getting back into it with this show. Is kind of the thing I used to push me, but I am starting a brand that is a combination of design and music. So basically what will happen is I will write a song or I'll create a bit of a beat. I tend to work more with production lately than live performance. And then whatever that beat inspires from me, I'll create a design to go with it, and that's going to get turned into prints or put on T-shirts. So kind of doing a little multimedia project there has been my project quest of late.
Yes. So exciting. Yeah, I remember you talking about this. So in terms of that business, like where are you in the process of getting that started? And have you started to make any music to start that process for it?
I have, yeah. I was hoping to have it live long ago, but these things always take more time than I want to give them. So I started. I've actually got the song, I've got the first concept for the design, and I've got my first little intro video kind of introducing the brand. I also wanted it to include animation and stuff like that, so this is why it's taking a million years, learning all these new skills. So yeah, that process is moving along. It really should be any day now, but this is what I've been saying for 2 months, so as it goes.
Yeah. Perfectionism, but it's not a bad thing. So any like spoilers as to the vibes of the song that you chose to use for this project?
Yeah, it's very vibey. So there's no vocals, which is odd for me because usually everything is vocal based. It is just a beat. It's kind of funky. It's kind of vibey. It's a little bit slow. So if that kind of gives a picture. Always hard to explain in words, but yeah, that's kind of where we're headed. But I have a feeling, knowing me, it's going to be all over the place, and each one could be a completely different genre, and I love to genre mesh.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Any reason why you feel like you kind of tried like a different genre, like rather than focusing on vocals, doing something different with beats?
I think it was mostly the space efficiency. So the space that I'm in right now, it's very small. It's hard to pull out all my recording equipment. And so I was just trying to be creative and get around that instead of trying to take even more time figuring out how to set this up and then break it down and let that get in my way. I'm trying to be like, okay, what really needs to be done here? How can I make this easier for myself? Because that's kind of the whole point of the brand, too, is I'm a major perfectionist, if you couldn't tell. Really, really big problem. And so the point of the brand for me was to just have that always in mind. Like, how can I cut down time? How can I be more efficient to just put stuff out, even if it's messy and it's bad? And so that's kind of where that decision came from. It was the easiest choice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be curious to know more. What's your process of like listening to music and then turning it into a different medium? So like how would you describe how that works for you and how you can visualize the graphics or the design that you create from the song that you've made?
It's really kind of abstract and ethereal. Basically, I just play it on loop a bunch of times. And I can just, I don't know how to explain this. This is a good question for me to prepare for. Yeah,
moment.
Exactly. What's the thing that I think Billie Eilish has when you can see
like
color
synesthesia
with music? I don't have that, but I still kind of like I get a color from the music, from the vibe of the music. So that's the first thing that I kind of see is like, okay, this feels like this color. It's not that I see color, it just feels like this color. So I'll kind of pull these colors and I'll create a little color palette. And then I just kind of go from there. Like, is it kind of angry? Does this beat or song have like a drive to it? And then that can kind of create, okay, well then this maybe there's going to be really jagged lines. Like what goes with anger visually? It's jagged lines. It's maybe it's red, right? Maybe it's really like big, bold stamps or prints of things. Or maybe it's a really gentle beat. Maybe it's really sad. And then maybe it's like, again, kind of typical, but maybe it's blues or purples and it's kind of like light on the paper. And it's like so light that maybe the pencil like doesn't even do a full line. It like comes off the page a little bit. I don't know if that explains anything, but that's kind of how my brain works as I'm doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So what is your background as an illustrator, and when did you get into making art of that form?
So my background as an illustrator, actually just of the past 2 years. So it's pretty recent. Well, maybe say 3 years. I started in traditional art. So that I've been doing since I was around 12. It's been quite a while. Don't know how many years that is, but that's many, many years. And started in traditional art. I went to school for music, and then I got out of school, and I was like, I don't know how to make money, and I need to make money. And I started working in restaurants, and I realized very quickly that that's not something I could do forever. Some people I feel like are, they really love their music and they're perfectly fine working in a restaurant to their 70s if it means they get to do music. And I really quickly realized that that's not something I was okay with. And I really needed to find an alternative. So that's when I started getting into illustration. The restaurant that I was working at, they had a social media manager and she quit. And so I kind of put my foot in the door and I was like, I know that I've never done this, but I can. Can you give me a shot? Can I do some test projects? And that's kind of where the whole thing started. And at the time I was thinking, okay, this doesn't take away from music. It adds to it because this is a form of marketing. And I know that if I want to be successful at all with music in the future, I need to learn marketing. I need to be good at marketing. So maybe whatever job I have that pays the bills can also be adding to my music instead of taking away from it, instead of just taking time. So that was my thinking. And then I started getting more into the illustration side because I found it more interesting and meshing with my traditional art background. And that's where that kind of came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you do so many artistic things, and it seems like with your business as well, it's like the perfect meshing of the two as well, and you found your way in that regard too. But do you find that different like visual types of art inspire your music in other ways? Like, what's that kind of like for you? Like, where do you draw inspiration from when you're writing music?
I feel like it should. I feel like it should go the other way too, and I'm not sure that it does. Usually it's other music.
That inspires the music.
Yeah, exactly. When I'm about to write a song, I'll go on a walk and I'll just put headphones in and I'll listen to music until something catches my ear, and it's usually not something directly that they did, but like the twang of the guitar or something like that. I'm like, ooh, I could build an entire world around that. And then I go back and I kind of mess with that one sound that caught my attention and I see how much I can expand it. So yeah, I don't know if I should play around with working more in visuals with that way, but I don't know that I have to this point. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I was curious because since you do both, I was wondering, if one would inspire the other. But I think it also makes sense that you would kind of stay in your lane with the one, too. Like that music would inspire music and the visual art would inspire new visual art. But yeah, so how often do you find that you're writing songs? Is that frequent for you? Is it more sporadic?
It's more sporadic lately, which makes me sad. It used to be the main outlet that I had for creativity or for when I was feeling bad for any reason whatsoever, I would write songs. But in the last couple years, it's been hard to find the balance between bill paying, really, and music. It's not something that I want to let go of, though, so it's definitely something I want to try to change. I think maybe I've written 2 songs in the last year and a half, and 2 of them I'm playing today. So it's not been a lot recently.
Yeah. Well, we're excited to hear them.
Yeah.
So would you like to kick it off with your first song?
Let's do it. This is a song that I actually wrote when I was 14, which is kind of crazy that I'm still playing it. And we're gonna try to get through it. I'm losing my voice a little bit. And what's funny is I usually play it with a capo on the 3rd fret, and I had to take it off, and we're playing without a capo, and that's how far my voice is now down. It's called Anastasia.
Anastasia? Did I get
Yeah,
that right? Okay, good. So you wrote that when you were 14.
I
That's
did. Yeah.
insane. So, how do you feel like the meaning of that song has changed or evolved for you, and how is it still relevant, and why do you feel like you're still drawn to playing it now?
I think it's really the melody that I'm still in love with. And I like the questioning of just like God only knows what is even going on a little bit. The rest of it I've lost touch with as far as the meaning. I think it was a lot of maybe even questioning my sexual identity at that point, which I have since figured out, and so I don't feel as close to it, but I feel good knowing that I have this little part of who I once was. It's like this little page of a journal that I'll carry with me forever, and that feels really nice. I released my first album when I was 16, I believe. And the rest of the songs, for some reason, just faded. Like I can pull them up there somewhere, but I don't remember them off the top of my head. That's the one that stuck, which, yeah, I find interesting. I think it really comes down to the melody of it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you still have those like first albums available somewhere, or have you kind of like taken those down as time has gone on to, evolve your works?
I have completely removed them from the internet. I have access to them. Maybe I should leave them up. My voice was like way up here, and I have a hard time listening to it. So that is why I chose to remove it. But my parents at least fight for that album to go back up
To go back
almost
up,
every time I
yeah.
see them. So
Aw.
one day I'll consider it.
Yeah. I mean, it is kind of hard to like know like where the line is there and like what you feel like is your sound now and what you want people to discover when they do find you. So how do you feel like you've curated that presence now? Like how has Laci Elle changed from that former like 16-year-old artist self?
So when I was at that point, that former self, I was doing mostly folk songs that were kind of reminiscent of Anais Mitchell, or I don't know if you know Joanna Newsom, but she's a harp player and a singer. So just kind of like very story driven, not very melody driven or chord driven, just like pure story, lots of lyrics in quick succession. And I would say, honestly, I released that album at 16, and then I did some other stuff, but I kind of took a break because I just stopped feeling like that was right for me. And then I went to school in Montreal, and I kind of started finding this other style, which was a bit more pop, a bit more R&B, sort of. Still like a hybrid mesh of alternative stuff. And I kind of got more into that. But I think the storytelling aspect is something I lost when I did that transition that at this moment I'm trying to figure out how to bring back in. Like, how can I still have very catchy songs that have like short little pop structure verses, but still tell a really intricate story in like a folk style, like that style is so good at. So that's kind of the balance of those two phases that I've been playing with.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
kind of going back to your roots in some ways, but also incorporating the different places you've been and who you are now.
Right.
So in terms of like being in Montreal and studying music in Montreal, how do you feel like just being in that different culture also influenced your music?
For me, it was really the people that I met in school. So I played for a while with this amazing bassist, and he would do really cool stuff. Like he had this huge foot pedal spaceship board, and he would play Bach pieces on his bass while running it through
Whoa.
these crazy pedals. And I was like, oh my god, that's incredible. That's so cool. So it's not really something that is specific to that culture, but just being around in a place that is so artistic, all these different forms of creativity was really mind-opening for me that I found, really, really interesting and definitely changed things.
Yeah. Yeah, and you mentioned that when you were in Montreal, you were really focusing on doing the gigging aspect of music as well. So what was that like to kind of go, to a new place and then put yourself out there and be in a new environment, sharing your music with the world? How did you navigate that?
I wanted to throw up often and before every show, and I had a little bit of a blindness, a little bit of a delusion, which I think really helped, just as far as thinking like I'm not going to think about this until I'm up there and I'm doing it, and maybe I wrote these songs yesterday even though I'm performing them one night, but it's fine, it's a small crowd. And I don't know, I'd been living there for a little bit when I started gigging, so it didn't feel like going from one culture to another in that respect really quickly. But yeah, it definitely, it's really nice to play up there. And like I said, just that same creative artistic vibe is lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How frequently do you think you were like playing gigs? Like weekly, monthly?
It was probably more like monthly.
Yeah, monthly.
Yeah, I don't know that it was super often. And then that was in the beginning, and then my time ending there, I stopped playing as much. But
Gotcha.
yeah.
Yeah, well, it's time consuming. And if you're studying
That's
and
the
doing a
thing,
million
yeah.
other things, then yeah. Yeah, definitely take a sip of your water. I know, I'm not trying to rush you.
No, it's just the losing voice thing. You can hear
I
it getting
know.
deeper
Honestly,
and deeper.
I am too. I've been sipping my water over here too.
Yeah.
So in terms of like entering the Burlington music world, you kind of mentioned that you're just kind of getting back into it and you're excited to start. But what have been your experiences so far, and like what are your hopes to kind of bring that experience from Montreal here to Burlington?
Yeah, so just really the collaboration. I would love to get more into the music scene here and meet more people and just play with people again, because that is just such a huge part of it. I haven't infiltrated much. This is probably the first real thing that I'm doing since I got back to Vermont, even though it's been quite a little while. And I've done some open mics around, so that has been the extent of my exploration. But yeah, as far as how did you phrase that? Bringing from Montreal?
Yeah, kind of like bringing your experiences gigging in
Yeah.
Montreal and, incorporating them into gigging here.
Yeah. Experience-wise, I don't quite know how I'll mesh that, but I just know that I would love to go to more shows, to meet more people, and just create a wider community. Is really, really the thing that I'm looking for, and that's the thing that I learned up there. That's really all that matters.
Yeah.
For design, for music, for anything, is can you find your place in the community?
Right.
And can you find the people around you that think like you do and that inspire you? And if you can do that, then it doesn't even matter what you're doing in life. You're doing well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Networking is important.
It really
and
is.
fostering
Yeah.
community. Yeah. Well, we would love to hear your second song. So what have you got for us?
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. This is a new one that I'm gonna hope I'll be able to sing. This is a new one. It doesn't have a title yet, so you can tell me afterwards.
Oh, nice.
What you think might be an interesting name. That's all I'll say. I'll just play it for you. I do have to do a quick little retune.
Yeah, no worries. Take your time.
How am I doing? I spent 29 years of my life and I'm still proving that it's all confusing, burning up all the meaning, and I'm blue. 'Cause it's right to die deep to the core. All of the minutes scattered on the floor, they'll be coming for you. They'll be coming for you. My foot's on the gas, turn it up loud. Stereo blasting, can you hear the sound? They're coming for you. They'll be coming for you. Here I go, fading in, breaking down every wall under my skin, dancing close to the edge. Let the noise be the answer in my head, the answer in my head. Yeah, yeah. How am I doing? I spend nights on the edge where the world feels reckless, searching for a feeling. And I lose it, 'cause it's right to die deep to the core. All of the minutes scattered on the floor, they'll be coming for you. They'll be coming for you. My foot's on the gas, turn it up loud. Stereo blasting, though you hear the sound. They'll be coming for you. They'll be coming for you. Here I go, fading in, breaking down all the words under my skin, dancing close to the edge, and I let the noise be the answer in my head, 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 na-na-na-na, the answer in my head. How am I doing?
Laci Elle with an unnamed song.
Unnamed song.
I'm over here thinking of different titles for it. I'm like in between my personal opinions, either naming it 29 or Answer in My Head.
Yeah. Oh, I like that. I'm gonna go with one of those.
I'd be honored. Anyways, we can let the listeners decide too and reach out to Laci and tell her.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I love the guitar patterns on that one.
Thanks.
So, how recently did you write this one? Like, how new is it?
Last week.
Oh, last week.
Yeah.
So it's super new.
It's super new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know in our own conversations, you said that sometimes it helps you to like have a gig like this to then inspire you to write. And was that the case with this one?
It was, yeah. I actually really wanted to use this as a way to push myself to create something because just again with the perfectionist thing, I feel like I got a little bit stuck. I don't know if this ever happens to you sometimes, but I just get in phases where I just feel completely blocked. And that is this right here is the first song that I have finished in a long, long time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because of this, just having the pressure, knowing I needed to create something. And I feel like when you do that, and you only have so much time, it can only be as good as you can make it in that time, and then it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, really, really helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, I would also like love to talk about the music that you do have out because you did release a single in 2024 this year.
Yes.
So take us through the singles that you do have out on platforms and the collaborations and such that you've done with those.
Yeah. So the song that came out, I actually don't remember if it was early this year or late last year, but it's called Health, and it's a collaboration with Pedestrian Tactics from Washington and Josh Brugman, who lives in Portland in Oregon. And Josh we've worked together a lot in the past doing production, and he's just incredible. He completely changed the way that I look at music. And so working on that song, it was kind of a nostalgic piece, paying homage to, I'm going to forget this song, a really popular 80s song. I'll just leave it at that. And yeah, they kind of wrote it. They did the whole thing, and they had me write one verse, and mostly I was just the vocals on that for them. But doing that process, doing maybe, for me, when I do stuff like that, about 700 vocal takes per line is a bit of how that process went down. But yeah, just a bit of back and forth. They had me write the lyrics for one verse, and I think I gave them maybe, it was like a short 4 or 5 line verse, and I did maybe 3 to 5 different versions of that. And then they asked me to just write different lyrics for the entire song, even though they were going to stick with what they have, just to make sure, like, could this have another vibe, just somebody else's input. So just like a lot of bouncing back and forth. And it's definitely weird to do when, for instance, I'm in Vermont and they're in Washington.
Right.
But still quite interesting. And it's also nice maybe to not have that pressure. Like when somebody else is in the room with you, you feel like, okay, I have to come up with something right now.
Right.
Whereas in this case, you can kind of mesh with it and
sit with it,
work it a little bit. Yeah, mold it like clay.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, a bit more. So that was a lot of fun. Yeah, and then the main song that I've released so far, it was a couple years ago, but it's called Siren. And on that one, I mostly did all of the production, and then I got this amazing opportunity to have Becca Stevens listen to it, who is this amazing singer-songwriter from New York. And it was like over COVID, and she was doing a course, and just one of those perfectly timed things. And she listened to it, and she was like, this would really benefit from having some like extra oomph on the drums, some extra mixing, some extra production. Let me put you in touch with my sound engineer, my producer. And I was like, what?
Yes, please.
Yeah. And so she put me in touch with Nick Hard, who has done a lot of work with Snarky Puppy and won a Grammy on one of their albums, which is just like this is the first song I ever worked on. My brain was blowing completely into pieces. And so he worked on that song. He gave me some tips, and he just really like gave it that extra oomph it didn't needed. And then had Becca Stevens and her husband play on it, and that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of validation for me to have that happen. On the first track, and I'm sure they didn't maybe care all that much or remember, but it was really awesome for me to have that happen. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Do you want to like tell people a little bit more about what your own production process is and style? Because I mean that takes up a lot of time too, the mixing and mastering, and also just like vocal layering. So how do you find that your process works for that when you like sit down and you're working on that side of things?
So usually when I was doing this, when I had a little space for it, I had a little closet that I kept my microphone in, and I would just shut myself in the closet in the dark and do a trillion vocal takes. I really like to build things off of vocals first, and then build as much as possible from the vocals. So like, instead of having like strings or any kind of synth sound like that, can I create that kind of expansive sound with my voice, and by running my voice through like different plugins. mainly from Sound Toys, which is my favorite thing to play with, which is actually a Burlington-based company, which is really cool, and I didn't know that until
so
afterwards. So yeah, just really vocal focused, really how instead of using this typical guitar, the typical drums to make the drum sound, what can I make that sound, and then how can I run it through plugins to make it bigger. And so it's like a natural sound. It's not a synthesizer, and it's but it's affected.
Yeah.
So looking at it a lot like that, and then a lot of different layers, a lot of harmony aspects, and it's a bit how I like to build things up. I'm still fairly new to it, so it's still changing every time. My process as I try to find where I like to fit into it, but so far that's been what's worked for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it's a huge learning curve, and there's so many different techniques and different ways that people achieve the end product. So I feel like there's no right or wrong way to do it, honestly.
Yeah.
So what are your aspirations or goals for your music now? Are you hoping to release some more music, maybe like one of the new songs that you've written? And where are you with that?
I would love to release more music. It actually deeply hurts me that I haven't released more music already. I had a deal with myself that by my 30th birthday, I would release X number of songs. I think it was 5. I've released 2, 3 if you count the collaboration, and my 30th birthday is in 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, I have some fast work I need to do. Probably won't happen at this point, but yeah, I would really like to get back to releasing some stuff as soon as possible. I have a lot of stuff that's been sitting in the vault that's either finished or partially finished that I would really like to polish up and get out there. And this is probably one of those moments where I need to just, drop the perfectionism again and just let it be and put it out, and then I can take it and I can evolve. It can always evolve, right? So, but yeah, really, I would love to set the goal for myself to release another song by next year.
Yeah.
Maybe in the beginning of the year. And we'll see how that happens.
Yeah. Maybe not your 30th birthday, but your 30th year of life.
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
I think that's still a good goal.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, whenever you're ready, we would love to hear your last song.
We'll see what happens with this one. This one has some high parts in the chorus that, judging by the last 2 songs, my voice doesn't want to hit tonight.
Yeah.
So we're gonna be a little experiment.
Yeah, whatever you want to do, whatever you feel comfortable doing.
All right. Just gonna do some sprays of a nice little throat coat serum and see if this helps.
This always happens whenever there has to be something that you have to go to.
Exactly.
That's how it is in life.
It hit this morning, and I was like, "You've got to be kidding me!"
Yeah.
Couldn't believe it. All right. Pray for me. it grows, it grows, it grows, it grows, it grows. Saying I'm grown now, but I can't let go, I must let it always. And I know now, 'cause I've written all of my mementos. And I'm waiting around for you to say it. I'm waiting around for you to say it. I'm waiting around for you to say it. And I'm waiting around for you to say, don't wanna go back, do it back, do it, don't wanna go back. Don't wanna go back, do it back, do it, don't wanna go back. And so it goes, you said, and then you overthrow. This golden world and more, and then your human form. Yeah. Didn't want no one to tell you, I didn't want no one to break, didn't want no one to walk all on your heart for heaven's sake. And so she threw the diamond, and then we gathered all around the kitchen sink. I don't wanna go back to it, back to it. Don't wanna go back, yeah, yeah, yeah. Don't wanna go back to it, back to it. Don't wanna go back. I've been feeling my days, my days, my days, my days, my days.
Laci, Elle. And what was the name of that one? Back
That
to
one
it?
also doesn't have
Doesn't
a
have a
name. I don't like to
name.
name things.
Yeah.
I guess.
I like that though. You can leave it up to interpretation and
Yeah.
figure it out as you
Yeah.
bring new meanings to it. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. We only have a couple more minutes left. And we always like to give our guests a moment just to fully promote yourself. So let people know how we can find your music and support you in your business too. Just so everyone can know how to find you.
Yeah. So I have two Instagrams. I have one for music, one for design. And my music Instagram is my stage name, Laci, LACI.LELLE. And my design Instagram is laci.design. And so I would say the design Instagram is where I'm a bit more active now. It's where I'll be posting stuff about my upcoming brand that meshes music and design, and that is called Tantavi. So if you were kind of interested in seeing what that crazy idea might look like, you can follow me there. And when I release it, that's where I'll post it. And then also my music Instagram's a bit more casual. It's just me kind of experimenting with stuff. And that'll be where I'll put up any kind of new musical release. That'll probably be both. So thank you so much for having me on. This was so great, and I really appreciate it.
Yeah, and we can't wait to see you, be out in the scene and starting to gig more. So hopefully this has ignited the fire in you, and thanks for being here.
Thank you so much.
And everyone listening, thanks so much for listening to Rocket Shop Radio Hour. I'm your host, Abby BK, and up next week we have Moth Mouth. So make sure to tune in next week as well. But as for now, this has been Rocket Shop Radio Hour, and we hope you have a wonderful day or night. We'll see you next time.